The Department of Public Works is before us, so if you can state your name for the record and then proceed.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Poindexter and members of the Finance Committee. I am Warren Lee, Director of the Department of Public Works. And I'm glad you saved the best for the last. We will be short and brief and to the point.
Good afternoon, Deputy Director Brandon Gonzalez for the Department of Public Works.
And also we have present today representatives from each of our six divisions. Administration, Diane Shiro. Automotive, Randy Riley. Building Division, David Yamamoto. Engineering Division, Ben Ishii. Highway Maintenance, Vince Kasarskis. And Traffic Division, Ron Theo. Our mission statement of the Department of Public Works, working together as one to improve the quality of service for the health and safety of our Big Island, Ohana, which means, in part, that DPW provides the buildings for the fire trucks. DPW provides the roads with traffic signs and markings for the fire trucks. Buses. We get the kupuna to the adult centers and get the keiki to the schools and to the playgrounds. So that is the mission of the Department of Public Works.
Great job.
That takes care of these two.
Did I cover all the bases? So you can see that DPW is often not taken for granted, but not very understood what we do, except I guess our role, just like most departments in the county Hawaii, is really exacerbated or comes to the forefront in the time of emergency. But our job is also 24/7. The administration division, you have the handout. Basically, it's a community outreach and coordination across the board for the department relative to being the general office manager, and they even manage the potable water spigot programs located throughout the county of Hawaii. The automotive division, repair and maintenance of county vehicles. We don't do fire trucks. We take care of fuel purchases. What you see here in the upper right-hand corner is a new truck that we're able to purchase for 2014, and the other one, which has 300,000 miles on it, which is, to be quote-unquote retired. We have a new fuel system that's being put in right now, the old gas boil system, which is in the left-hand corner, and the new one, obviously you can tell which is old and the new. And then also, our clean professional shop, automotive shop, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. The building division, pretty much construction permitting, code compliance, planning, design, and construction of county facilities. And we also do the janitorial and groundskeeping for most of the county facilities throughout the island, all 4,028 square miles. So again, you see in the upper right-hand corner, substandard building. This is part of code enforcement. What you see in the bottom right-hand corner is one of the major projects that the Mayor Kinoy mentioned this morning that we are doing for the Department of Education at the high school in Kau. This is the Kau District Gym and Shelter. District Gym and Shelter, which will be open in the latter part of 2014. The Engineering Division, design and construction of county infrastructure, code regulations and compliance, flood control and bridge funds. What you see in the upper right-hand corner is the rough grading work, maybe fine grading for La'aloa extension, which will take La'aloa, existing La'aloa, up to the, I guess it's Kukini Highway, or Mamaloa Highway, or Queen K extension, whatever they call it, Route 11, What you see in the middle and bottom is the Kamehameha Highway, the work that is going on right outside the windows on the ocean side. And also what you see is the South Kona, North Kona floodplain studies that are currently in progress. The engineering division, these are the significant projects that are going on right now, either in the planning or design stage. And I won't read them all to you, because there's quite a bit of work that's been done. I just wanted to note that those with the asterisk, those projects that are denoted with the asterisk are done with all in-house resources, engineering, drafting, inspection resources. They are not consulting work resources. Next. More projects, activities going on. The next is a list of construction projects in progress. One of my favorite slides, a new slide. Chapter 20, Article 2, called basically unsafe flora. This is a new opportunity for the public works to be involved in. And we welcome the challenge and the opportunity. Thank you for putting your trust in us. Funny. No, seriously. Unsafe flora. To date, we have received 44 complaints, and basically this is handled by the complaints. Theoretically, go to the mayor's office, and they come to DPW. We assign it to the engineering division, which has inspectors. They go out and they look at this. They go out and look at they take the complaint under their wings and they look at the site. So to date, we have received 44 complaints. 17 were considered not in imminent danger. 14 were considered possible imminent danger. 13 still under investigation. One note is that we have not put anything in the budget for removing any trees or unsafe flora, because our expectation is there will be 100% compliance by the offending property owner. The trees removed, offending property owner will take care of the complaint. That is our expectations. If that doesn't happen, then we will work with the finance, because I believe this is not something that you budget, but something that if we have to do the work for the offending landlord, there is a financial recourse. So it's more of a balancing account versus a budgeting process. And here's some of the pictures of some of the investigations that have taken place to date. The Highway Maintenance Division, basically 970 miles, and every year we're adding miles with the dedication of new roads that were completed either 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years ago, whenever the developer gets around to dedicating the roads to the county of Hawaii. They take care of also the drainage ways, sidewalks, bridges, and roads in limbo, and also thousands of dry wells and culverts. The amount of roads that were dedicated, that the new one, the high visibility road that they now maintain, is the Anekeo Kaloli Highway. Concrete highway, but significant amount of irrigation and landscaping. Also the Hokulia Mamalolo bypass, which is now belongs to the county of Hawaii. Here's roads in limbo. On the left is Mana Road being worked on. It's a compacted gravel road. On the left, on the right is a typical road in limbo that was in Kapoho, which is now, actually this is before the after picture, which we have is shows us widened, the vegetation cut back, and the road actually paved. Also, Highway Maintenance Division is our first responders for disasters. What you see on the left is Pohotalani. I thought, oh, is that your district, Ms. Poindexter? This happened on the eve of New Year's Eve. The culvert washed out due to heavy rains. And what you see in the middle bottom is the culvert back in service, the roadway back in service, and this is about maybe about 5 days later, doing this stuff. And you can see also in the upper right-hand corner what happens when the culvert gets plugged. So if there's heavy rain, there's a lot of debris in the flood channel. The road eventually gets flooded. Traffic division treats, what would we do without the traffic division? Safety first. Whether it be a traffic signal, a crosswalk, or a stripe on a road. What they're doing right now is, you may have read in the newspaper, it's widening a stripe for the bikers from 4 inches to 8 inches to make the lane more noticeable, and hopefully, the intent is to make it safer for the bicyclists. Also, what a major initiative undertaken by the traffic division continues with the LED streetlight conversion. Again, the whole idea is, how do we become more friendly for the observatories and at the same time save on the power costs for the county of Hawaii. So this is a $1 million program that we expect it's to pay for itself, basically. Again, quickly, our department responsibilities: engineering functions, building construction inspection permits, code regulation compliance, facility improvements, highways, traffic control, vehicle and fleet maintenance, contracting, emergency response, including flood control. Our operating budget for FY 2014-2015, a little, $44,864,276, broken down as the general fund, $6.3 million, highway fund, $28 million, and beautification about $400,000. The general fund by function, you can see building is about 42%, automotive is about 35%, engineering 12%, administration 9%. The general fund by expenditure type, salaries and wages, 55%. The highway fund by function, highway maintenance 34%, mass transit, who will be doing their own presentation, is 21%, traffic 21%, and pensions and contributions 10%. Roads and limbo 3%, and CIP projects 10%. The highway fund by expenditure type, salaries and wages 26%, operations 25%, mass transit 21%. The operating budget, the general fund, just a comparison with FY 14-15, we're at $16.3 million. It's a change of $92,425 from FY 13-14. And at this point, I'd just like to say, and you can tell me if I can go home after this, that of the difference of the $92,425, the difference between what we propose for next year and this year, $840,000 is in wage and salaries, the wage increases. So if we take that out, we reduce the budget from last year. So we took the scalpel to the budget. So can I go home? No. Can I go back to the office and work? Yeah. So, administration, again, I talked about the program that we undertook, the water spigot program, and it gives you an indication of what's happening between FY 12-13 when we first took it over, and now what the estimated cost for the entire fiscal year 13-14. So the red lines are generally above the green lines, which means that we're spending more on the free water spigot program. The automotive division and equipment, this is our fleet. The green lines represent what is our average age of our fleet. The blue lines represents the national average for government vehicles. So just like most of the divisions or the departments that will be coming before you today, we have been a moratorium basically on new equipment purchases, and this is just a reflection of what it is. The more details on the sampling of the fleet age, you have this in your handout. Basically, we got many vehicles over 200,000 miles, so pretty much close to hitting 200,000 miles. And we got heavy equipment that are quite old, going back to 1974, 1978, 1982, 88, and 89. Building division it administers and enforces the building, plumbing, and the electrical code. And they're also responsible for administering what I call the permit to build system versus a building permit. It's a permit to build, because a permit to build involves more than the building division, meaning the electrical, plumbing. It involves Department of Health, it involves the planning department, it involves fire, as far as the plan review. It also, as I mentioned, also involves Department of Health, wastewater, and sanitation branches. But anyway, getting back to the building permits, the building division, when we look at how many building permits, how we process them, this is what our goal is, that our process time is to streamline it and get it out as fast as we can. But on first round applications, less than 14 days, for what we've seen, this for FY14-15, 1 years of data, 50.7% of the permits get out within 14 days, and between 14 and 28, about 26%, and between the 28 to the 41 days, 12%, and greater than 42 days, on 11.6%. And these numbers have been dropping as far as getting the permits out in a quicker and more efficient manner. This graph here just shows the building permit plan reviews. Now, not to be confusing with the previous slide I showed, but some plans require more review. The first one, they are submitted. The plans do not meet code, even though they may be stamped by a registered or professional architect or engineer. So they have to be recycled. And sometimes there's a lot of discussion between the applicant and the code reviewer. But, basically we follow the code, and this is part of public health and safety. So some plans get reviewed 2 times, some get reviewed 3 times. And this process goes on until the basic code, minimum code requirements are met. So of the building permits that were issued, or the permits to build, you can see that we are here, the last 3 lines, last 3 columns represents the actuals in FY12-13 and what we estimate FY13-14 to be, and the projection for 14-15. So pretty flat. I think we're coming out of the recession, permits are starting to increase in applications. The real quick slide here is we have this in our revenue stream as a revenue accounting, what the estimated permit fees are to be collected over the fiscal year. Also, the next slide on permit inspections. Every permit that is issued, when the contractor is ready for inspection, he calls our inspectors, whether it be for building, foundation, electrical conduits, if he's ready to close up the wall, or plumbing, if he's ready to hook up, close the wall also, if it's a double wall structure. Here is an example of home in distress. This was during the December New Year's Eve storm, high winds in Hilo. You can see, if you look closely, just about the middle, the roof is halfway off the home. And again, the building division, code development and enforcement. In our code, the building codes, the plumbing codes, and all codes basically are developed based on catastrophic failure, things that have happened in the past. And the engineers and the scientists and the statisticians, they look at it and figure, how can we make it better so it does not happen again? And that's why you have a building code, or you have a plumbing code, or you have a fire code, or you have an electrical code. The building code is not, like this, the next picture shows, it's not necessarily only for hurricane. The building code addresses earthquakes, building code and flood code, and FEMA code addresses flooding from tsunami also. So any type of natural disaster is accounted for addressed with some type of code. In the engineering division, this graph just shows the type of work that we're doing. The FEMA work is pretty flat. Federal highways, which is the red line, we have a lot of, we're fortunate to qualify for quite a few STIP, State Transportation Improvement Projects, where the county is responsible for 20% of the cost, and the state through the federal government finances the 80% of the project. Our engineering projects for FY14-15, rather than read them off, I'll just, I think you have the slide, but I'll just say it real quickly. Saddle Road Repair, milepost 9.4. Emergency culvert repair at Poakia, Malta, which was the earlier slide I showed you. Kilauea Avenue resurfacing, that was done. Kaiminani, Mamalapoa to Ahiahi is just about finished. That was 9.8 million. Kaolani Street relocation of the Hawaiian Telecom duct lines in preparation for the intersection was completed at about $1 million. In our operating budget for the highway fund, moving to the highway fund now, again, the point I just want to point out is that for FY14-15, it's 35.6 million, up 1 million from the previous year. The previous year being FY13-14. So if you take that $1 million increase, actually for highways, under DPW, the wire wage increase was $607,000. Now also, if you look at the 35.6 million, mass transit is 7.5 million, and Ms. Kai will be making her presentation at a later time. But that is part of the highway fund, but if you take out the mass transit, again, what we did was we basically followed the directions from the mayor's office and really took a good look at our budget, and actually, we actually cut it if you compared it to the FY13-14 budget. So, is it okay if I go back to the office and do some other work now? No. Oh, okay. I'm just asking. No, why not try? Highway Maintenance Division, resurfacing program. The upper line is the price of what we call hot mix, which is asphalt concrete. You can see over the years it has steadily increased. It's now at $121.25 per ton. And you look at the green line on the graph, you can show that it is decreasing, and that is the miles of roads resurfaced every year. So as the price of asphalt concrete increases, the miles of road that we can resurface decreases, because our funding through the 3.8 cents fuel tax, supplemental fuel tax, is pretty much fixed. It always comes out about the same each year. In fact, it is declining because as the economy solve, people travel less, so there's less fuel consumption. Roads in Limbo. This is another program that we're working on. We put $1 million in the budget for it. The big one that we're working on right now, the large one, literally, is Mana Road, which is about 19 miles. Although it is not a AC road, it is being reconstructed as a compacted gravel road, and where there are certain washout areas where it tends to erode very quickly from the rain. We plan to harden that with asphalt. Hilo maintenance, these are the South Hilo roads that were paved. Next is the North Hilo and Hamakua roads that are paved. This is past tense. If I was to say pave, we will pave hopefully before the end of the fiscal year, Kalaniai. North and South Kohala roads, paved. North Kona roads, paved. South Kona roads, paved. Kau, Puna. Our traffic division, one of their major sections is the traffic signs and markings. We now have crews in East Hawaii and West Hawaii. And the program is to getting up to speed to hit the goal of 250 restriping miles per year. So they're doing good, but they still want to hit their goal. And you know, I don't know if you paint an 8-inch stripe. Does that count double versus a 4-inch stripe? I'm gonna check with Ron on that. Maybe we gotta figure out how we're gonna calculate this.
Counts double.
Double. It counts double. Okay. And Traffic Division, we fabricate signs upon request, upon demand. We fabricate signs. What it shows, this graph is in the blue is the actual number of signs that we fabricate based on request, or just to replace the sign because the sign is faded. The sign does not have its reflective characteristics required by code, the traffic code. Traffic Division, sign maintenance. Here we can see how many we've maintained when I just talked about replacement. This next slide is a test. So red, or red, yellow, we're yellow right now. So I'm done. I know. Open for questions.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any lights on. I think I'm glad we don't. Councilmember Woody.
He is one of my constituents, so I have to be a little careful here. On the
I try
road,
to use everybody.
on the road dedications, how can we improve that? I mean, what's been done so that, road dedications are done and get done as quickly as possible in this process? And is there some kind of, is there a way we can get some kind of ordinance or, because I just see dedications go on, and we can take the connector road, or I don't want to even be specific, but it just seems like road dedications could be handled and figured out in a way that it puts it more quickly in the hands of the county and lessen the factors that we don't have control of. Whether it's that so-and-so has a new board and they have to wait or whatever other issues. So just the dedication process.
So let me answer your question this way, Councilperson Willie, is that oftentimes a developer or someone will build a road to county standards with private money as a condition of their rezoning or a condition of their subdivision. And the intent that because it is built to county dedicable standards, it will be turned over to the county, in which then the county will own the road, will maintain the road, and have the liability for the road. So the question that you're asking is how can we get the developer to turn over the proper documents after the road is actually physically constructed and inspected in a timely manner? That's a good question, because I don't really know why they don't turn the property over to the county as soon as possible to reduce their liability. And not having been a developer myself, I really don't know why, except that maybe they have some contractual issues, land issues, or financing issues relative to the sale of all the property to close the subdivision. So I really don't know how to answer that question, except I know the opposite is that if they don't dedicate it to us within a year, then they keep it.
So what about the Parker Ranch Connector Road, Alameda, or whatever it's called?
My understanding of that Parker Ranch Connector Road is that there is an easement that they needed to get from because part of the road is on state land, and they have not been able to get the approval for that easement, or the right to put that road on state property. So it is something between the developer and whoever is the owner of the property. And once they get that resolved, then they can finish the documentation, which is basically the map parcel map of all of the parcels involved in the road that would be turned over to the county. So we will not take a road that all the properties have been addressed and properly conveyed to the developer. So that is the hang up on Hope Road.
And I'm not sure, that's just one example I see of roads where they just somehow sit and then we never get to change the speed limit or address other issues. And what about the 511 program? That's something that I really worked on quite a number of years ago with the South Law Traffic Safety Group and looking around at lots of other states getting a lot of money, and I know we had to do things in order to qualify, but where is that on the list of things to get done? The 511, you know what I'm referring to?
Not really, because, well, first of all, I don't have it in my budget.
Okay, the 511, and maybe, no, the 511 program is the one where the alerts to what roads are open or closed. And you can look at
Oh, the Amber Alert type of thing, just the traffic,
yeah.
intelligent traffic
And
system?
it keeps you, it'll check what roads are open and what closed, and then a person can figure out, okay, I have to go around the Hobby Way because I can't get through Hawaii High Road, and that whole alert system. I know the state has to be brought up to a certain level to qualify for all of the federal funding.
Yeah. Well,
And maybe Ron.
we don't have it in our budget, but maybe Ron, you have some information.
Ron, can you
go
come
into.
up here, please?
Mr. Ron Thiel, the Division Chief from Traffic Division, the Department of Public Works.
How do we move that along?
Councilmember Willie,
Yeah.
thank you for asking the question. I'll give a very short answer. The 511 program is a tail end of the Intelligent Transportation System program. And the Intelligent Transportation System program is between $10 and $20 million away from us right now.
Okay, so it's a matter of the not spending money to get to where we can get the money. I mean, when I just looked and researched it in other states, it seemed like there was a lot of federal money available for that program going into other states.
Actually, it can be 100% financed by federal funds.
Would you just explain it a little more articulately than I did, just so in case anybody doesn't
The
know?
511 is a construction awareness phone number. So you just call to find out what is happening with construction around the island and disasters and anything else that affects the drivers. We would have signboards, smart signs, message boards placed at all of the strategic locations on the island that would be able to tell people, and it would be controlled by the main office. Would be able to tell people what is closed or detours that are occurring because of fires or earthquakes or tsunamis or anything like that. Plus all the construction that's going on in the island. So it would be a total driver awareness. But it's after the entire signal system and transportation system on the island is brought up to the intelligent transportation system criteria.
Okay, which that funding has to come from us.
Well, that funding comes out 100% federal funded.
But they're getting prepared for it, in other words, to be eligible.
It comes out of the STIP program that the state administers. And we're allowed a certain amount of money in that STIP program in each county. And this could come out of that.
Okay, I'm getting poked over here for my time. But let me just, the Lindsay Road extension, is there anything, this sort of the whole, is that something that's on the list to deal with?
The Lindsay Road extension will be covered in the CIP program. But right now, I can tell you that the Lindsay Road extension is not on the list for an appropriation. If you would like to put it on, it can be put on. We do have limited funds for Waimea. Right now, the focus is improving Mamalabo between Wanaka, between Madeleine
And mono.
Ulisu's had to commercialize this, but Ulisu's no longer going to get bought out, but they're changing the name from that area because that's where the traffic is right now. And the condition of the roads are deteriorating very rapidly.
Right, it's just the rise in traffic, more and more complaints. Okay, I'll yield.
But in response to your earlier question about the 511, so traffic does have some funds for the ITS. It's not like nothing has been done. It is a work in progress right now. He has a consultant on board, ITS, and also at the same time, I would say, relative to notifying the public, we do have the equivalent of the City Watch program where people get messages on different gulch. First, second, or third gulch is closed because of a landslide. There are means to get information out.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Yap?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director, and to your staff. I want to especially thank you for all the work that's been done in West Hawaii over the last few years, and I see some of those projects kind of finishing up either this year or next, so I'm very happy that we've seen several projects completed that make getting around a lot easier in West Hawaii and relieving some of the traffic congestion. But I don't understand, and if you could just describe a little bit about what the West Hawaii Traffic Facility is, this project.
Oh, Mr. Ron Few from the Department of Public Works. It's the way traffic facility. It's the facility up in Captain Cook, the new one. There's a need to expand because we're running out of
And Ron, if you could, just stick, if you want to sit down on the back seat, just take a seat right in back of that seat.
Would you repeat the question again, please?
I just didn't understand or know what the West Hawaii Traffic Facility project is on the CIP. It says it's to add new structures or additions to the current building to accommodate additional employees hired for West Hawaii signals and streetlight section.
And the amount is in there?
I think it was,
I know the answer, I just want to make sure I get it straight.
it was, fire funds were 1.95 and estimated project cost is 2 million.
Yeah, that's funds left over from what we had before. And that facility is for the highway division has districts and facilities in each district. The traffic division didn't have any facilities anywhere but in Hilo. We covered the entire island, so we developed the West Hawaii facility about 3 or 4 years ago and got it up and running and manned. And right now we have, I think it's 8 signs and marking personnel located there with another 3 electricians for the signs for the signals and street lights to be they're currently being hired now, and they will be assigned there, and they're from that area. So we had that original amount of money that funded the project, and we had a little left over, and we're just rolling it over into another CIP to finish up any inside partitions and things like that, mezzanine upgrades, things like that to help us.
Good to know, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. Mr. Thiel, would you remind me or refresh my memory on the highway fuel tax? How much goes to engineering and how much goes to road maintenance or whatever it is? Do you remember what the split is on that?
Sorry, you're looking at me, but you said Mr. Field. So
Pardon me, Mr. Lee. You look alike, right?
a little.
A little.
Yeah, we have 2 eyes.
Yeah, that's what
The fuel tax, 3.8 cents fuel tax goes towards, 50% goes towards road resurfacing. And I believe 25% goes towards engineering, for
Which is-
engineering, public works, and 25% goes to,
And how-
25%, right?
How much is the total tax?
The total tax usually, depend on the sales,
Yeah,
comes out about maybe 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 million dollars.
okay. Okay, and so 3.8 cents goes to maintenance, road maintenance or something like
No.
that,
3.8 cents equals 3.8 cents per gallon
right?
is what is a rate used to collect
And split
the
50,
the
25.
3.8 million dollars. 3.5 to 3.7 million dollars. It varies over the years.
Okay. I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before, we had money left over in the engineering side, but we had no money left over in the road maintenance side. Is that my memory faulty, or?
No, your memory is not faulty. In fact, but let me clarify, because this came before the council
2 years, 3
maybe
years?
2 months ago. Some of the money from the previous year was going to lapse, something like 50,000 or 200,000. We wanted to put that use it for this year for resurfacing. So whatever district that lapse money was occurring, will go back to that district. And same thing for the engineering projects.
Okay. I guess my memory is going back several years before then, because it seemed to me that our engineering dollars were not being expended as quickly as our road maintenance dollars. And the discussion had come up in a previous council that maybe we needed to adjust the split between the 3.8 and put less into engineering and more into the road maintenance. What is your feeling on that, changing that split?
And actually, my feeling is that should be the split, if not more, for engineering. And let me explain this. The part that goes into engineering is for, part of it is for bridge rehabilitation. We have 127 bridges on the site that need to be maintained. And then we also use that money for engineering so that we can get to the projects with the 2080 leverage, the STIP
The
price.
state.
Right, so the money doesn't get spent quickly, because when you do the engineering and you do the permitting and you do the design, it takes a while
Yes.
to spend that money versus, ordering 50 tons of asphalt when it doesn't rain and putting it down on
Right,
some
right.
surface. So a little different in managing it. So again, the leverage though, dollar for dollar, 2080, 1 for 4.
Can't beat it. Okay. I'm looking at the graph on restriping. And the goal is 250 miles a year, and we aren't even getting close. Yet our salary and wages are going up dramatically. And therefore your budget is getting cut, your budget is getting smaller, because wages and salary are taking up bigger percentages of it. But the striping isn't getting done, and I gotta tell you, I know the section of road that I'm gonna talk about is State Highway. That's that 15 nasty curvy miles between Milliliki between Milliliki and Ho'okena. The last time and I know it's state, the last time I drove on it, there were huge many-mile sections that had no striping, or really poor striping, no reflectors, and the only way to see that you were actually on the road was to look into the headlights of the oncoming cars, because this was a nighttime driving. And of course, you're blinded, so you're not seeing the road quite as well as you should. Now, I know that's state, but I know we have county roads that are in that condition. And if our goal is 250 and we're not even getting close to this, what are we gonna do to improve this? I mean, I
can answer
wages
that
are-
question.
Okay, hang on. If wages are going up and we're failing to even get close to our goal, we can't afford to hire more employees, I think. Because we're paying benefits on employees, so is there some other mechanism that we should be doing? All right, Mr. Thiel, thank you for waiting for me to finish the thought.
Yes, there is. when you go through the years in the past, you'll see that we had I think it was 140 miles of road restriped a year. That actually moved from 100 to 140 miles of road a year. That was our goal. Little did we realize that we weren't achieving that. That goal didn't identify the total miles of road we had to work with on the island. So just in the last couple of years, we finally got the information that we really needed to do 250 miles of road, 9 miles of road a year.
Is this to
To
catch up, or is
No,
it to?
So the federal requirements on striping is reflectivity, and the striping on the road has to be replaced every 4 years to accomplish the reflectivity criteria. And what we were doing was replacing them every 8 to 10 years. So we've been working on that, identifying what it is we have to do, and increasing our efficiency of our personnel. Just in the last year, we got a good working crew on the west side that's helped us increase our activity. And we've identified for the first time what it was that we had to accomplish. So in the supplemental budget, there's one item called a long line truck, $400,000. That will change our whole method of operation in striping and achieve that 250 miles of road a year. We have about a 2 to 2.5 year goal in acquiring that and moving towards that.
Okay, I don't know what a long line truck is, and I don't know what dollar amount you're talking about. And is it in the, you said it was in the supplemental budget?
Actually, it's more, we have we put the striping down on the road with hand liners. We walk behind the push
Yeah, I
bike.
see the guys doing that.
Okay, we get a truck that goes about 5 times as fast. We increase our production, and we change our whole method of operation. We don't just do the truck application, we do both. We do the hand liner, narrow roads, intersections, and things like that. And the long line truck is what's doing the paving and striping on the highways.
Okay, how much does this truck cost?
It's $400,000 we have identified in the supplemental budget.
Is it gonna get into the budget, Mr. Lee?
At this point, it depends on what happens with as the budget, total budget, when the county goes through
Revisions.
finance committee revision.
Okay.
But the mayor finally decides it's going to be a number.
So the way we generally work it, we get our item in the supplemental budget the first year, and it starts gathering attention. By the second year, we start getting some activity. So we're counting
What do you
on
mean, what do you mean by activity?
it funded.
So you put it in the budget, the supplemental budget, and it gets
Gets a lot of attention.
It gets ignored pretty much.
No, it doesn't get ignored, it gets attention. But it doesn't get
Attention, well,
funded.
that's nice.
It doesn't get funded, it just gets attention, gets conversations like this going. And then the next year, it bubbles up into something that's
Okay, that
acceptable.
doesn't sound really efficient. Especially if we've got, first of all, it sounds like we obviously need it, and it sounds like, you know, we can't keep having the guys go out doing, I guess these are the major roads by hand, but it's not efficient. We need them to do the intersections, correct? Okay. And so this is, you know, this is just me. You know, to put something in the budget that we obviously need so badly and just talk about it for a year, and then it doesn't get funded for another year. How long does it take to order one of these things and have it actually show up on the side?
Usually it takes 2.5 years. We started our budget last November. It takes 2.5 years from that date to get that truck on our facility.
How would we be able to expedite this for you?
Don't call it a fire.
Mr. Lee, I guess this is really in your ballpark. I look at this and I say, we need this long line truck, and it's gonna get talked about for a year, and then when it gets ordered, it'll take another 2.5 years. What do we do to get this expedited?
John alluded to is now, first of all, the first part of the equation is that he has a full crew of striking people in Westwood.
But they're being hired, I thought he said,
That was electricians.
electricians, I'm
So
sorry, I
he has a full
apologize.
crew, like, so it's a matter of, them getting up to speed and improving the equipment over a period of time. So certainly having a line truck, would help improve the, efficiency, but it does cost $400,000, so there is a trade-off someplace. And if we can find $400,000 in our budget, or trade it off in the current year, in next year's budget, or add it to it, have it somewhat added to next year's budget, we're just gonna keep our eye on it and keep working more efficiently as we have right now. The other option that we have, I just don't want it to be a misconception, but not, there's different levels of road, classifications of roads that the county takes care of. Major collectors, minor collectors, local roads, and not all of them are striped in the same way or equal or have to be striped. So again, we are below our objective of 250,000 miles a year, but we're gonna do what we can and do the best we can.
Does this truck do anything more than just stripe? Does it put out reflectors at the same time, or, is it a multifaceted vehicle so we can get really efficient?
No, it's just a one line truck. It just does a very efficient job of like 5 to 7 times as much line as the walkie line.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna yield.
Councilmember Ilhan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm kind of out of it too. Good afternoon, Director Lee. I was gonna ask you, you had a very funny presentation, and I was gonna ask you what you had for lunch. Because I wanna go where you're eating. But
That would be funny.
But I couldn't even start it off. I just wanted to say, you helped me out a lot regarding Puna, the district I represent. And I do want to say thank you for the widening on Highway 130 for the Purchase State project. Thanks for the roundabout totally because it's another state project. But actually, you did do a lot of paving and you did do a lot of maintenance. And that's in Hawaiian beaches, and there's the roads in Wendell. And there was a lot of striping done that helped out with public safety. I want to say that in different intersections, like in Leilani, one in Keone Poco area, the berms that helped out when you're leaving the school. And there's other different places that your department has been really vital in making it happen. And I appreciate all the work that you've put up in your department. There is one thing, looking at your department, it's one of the hardest department in the sense of you guys are always underfunded in a way where we can give you more money and more roads will be paved, more bridges will be able to be taken care of. But one of the things I always look at when looking for the way the budget is your ratio of personnel and projects, because one of the things that and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that even if we had like over $100 million and we just give it all to you, I want to say you don't have a big crew to do everything. That means you would have to contract those roads out. If you do it in-house, you save a lot of money, and you're able to take care of those roads and the needed infrastructure. And I wanted to ask you, how is your crew in the sense of the amount of funding you're getting on highways and everything else? I know that's kind of hard to ask. I guess the real question is, right now, you guys deal with roughly around how many miles of county roads in the island of the valley?
Is that the real question?
Yeah,
The
let me
real
start
question-
with that. That's an easier
The real
question.
question is that county roads, we have about 960, 970 miles of county roads that we take care of. This does not include the roads in Limbo, which is about 120, 125, 127 miles.
And with the amount of funding that you're receiving currently, how many miles can you take care of?
You know that graph I showed you, with the price of the asphalt concrete and the amount of miles that we take care of? Generally, roughly, I would say, on average, we should be doing about anywhere between 15 to 20 miles of resurfacing per year. Depends on the type of road. It could be a 18-foot wide road, or it could be a 40-foot, 20-foot wide road with shoulders, depending on where we're at. For example, if you're in Pahoa town versus one of the smaller or large, or one of the subdivisions, or for example, if you're in Kailua Village versus you're in Polo, the different width of the road and the shoulders make a difference. But generally, the common unit is miles of road have you resurfaced, and generally that's why I say it would be anywhere from 15 to maybe 20 miles per year.
And with your road crew, how many miles of roads can you do annually if you were given all the funding you possibly can do? Because the men and women can only do so much in a day. Like, with all the crew that you have, if you had unlimited funding, how many miles of roads can you keep on doing?
Unlimited funding. We could do a lot of roads. With that unlimited funding, what we would do is we would ask the mayor to fund some of those positions that have been unfunded, first of all, because, and also let me add, is that we don't only pave roads. The highways maintenance group doesn't only pave roads. They clear flood channels, they pick up dead animals or whatever. They do everything that nobody wants to do.
So not only that, there are very much a lot of
So if
unfunded
we had
positions.
unfunded positions, that would be great. If we had an unlimited amount of money too, what we would do is buy more equipment. One of the constraints right now that we have with paving is that we have one large paver which moves around the island, either clockwise or counterclockwise, to do the paving work. And we also have a limited number of 20-ton dump trucks which actually picks up the asphalt concrete from the batch plants. So if we had more people, we had more trucks, and we were able to buy another paving machine, a large paving machine, we could do a lot more. We could do double what we did. We could actually resurface roads. What I would say would be the constraint is we want to have enough resources so that we can resurface each road in this county of Hawaii on schedule with a 20-year life. And that would include also the stripers, and we'll buy the line truck. So we can stripe the roads that we reach.
So it's the equipment,
Yeah.
yeah.
That help, can you help us?
I have this geothermal relocation community benefit funds if you,
No, we as long as
it's hard, it's tough.
it's
There's
not
limited
printed on the Xerox
resources.
machine,
I think, it's really tough. There's so many needs out there.
It is hard, and everybody gotta share with what we have. Everybody needs to work together to get this budget approved, and So the fire people can do what they need to do, police need to do what they do, Office of Aging and Parks and Recreation, so, you know, the mayor has a tough job, and you guys too, you have a tough job on, prioritizing, helping to prioritize where the funding is. It's not easy.
Well, thank you for helping out, the Kuna area, and, just, all I can say is, keep doing a good job with the limited resources that we give you. It's tough.
Thank you. It's the, the people behind you, the division heads, and their crews and their supervisors that make it happen. It's not me, and we're all together with the Ohana, working for the bigger Ohana and for the community. So it's everybody working together.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Woody?
I was my first question really was along the line of what Councilmember Gilligan was putting in. I mean, it would seem to me that we might, in the long run, do better if we, and save money if we had more in-house employees working, whether it's through whatever it would take, and not be contracting out as much, whether it's in terms of the roads and also in terms of some of the studies and some of the engineering work that's done. I know when I was looking at just the numbers from working on that Lapa Hoihoi Homestead Government Road project and looking at what it would cost certain things if you all did it versus what if we got the feds to do it in-house, there was just such a big difference between the cost where it could be in-house versus contracting out. So again, I just want to raise that sometimes sort of saving and not hiring people is not always. Can you guys not talk right next week? This is hard for me. So that's just for you to think about. I'm just reinforcing what he said, that I think that there's a question there. And also I always get into, labor versus capital equipment. It may be that we could use that line truck more and hire more people and just buy equipment that will do it more efficiently and save, and we don't need as many people working, but yet we're trying to get our employment numbers up. So I think that, in other words, do we hire more people and fill some of these positions, or go out on the line to get the equipment? And that's not something I can judge, but certainly a relevant question. In the book here, what page is page 9 of Highway Fund, it says that there was a carryover budget of over $5 million, and then it's sort of estimating carryover budget and up through 2016 close to $6 million. Can we use some of that money to do some of these things? It's on line 360910.
Hold on. You got the budget book right now?
Yeah, in Highway Fund 26.
Oh, you got it. Highway fund what?
Highway Fund, anyway, there's only one page for Highway Fund, and it's on the back of what I'm looking at. And it's the top line, 360910. I just remember last year when I looked at, there was also a carryover budget, I think it was in Roads and Limbo, and we had dedicated a lot of money, and then we only spent a small amount of money. So I'm just trying to put this money to use here. We could probably, with that $5 million, buy this new striper thing and still have some left over.
The fund balance number that you're looking at here
If you could
is,
just identify yourself.
I'm sorry, Nancy Crawford, Director of Finance, and they are doing exactly what you're speaking about, I think, Ms. Willie, which is that represents revenue. That's fund balance that was left from the prior year, and they are using it as a revenue source to balance the budget in the highway fund, just as we use our general fund balance as a revenue source to balance the general fund. So that isn't available money, that's money that they are using to cover the expenses on the expense side of their budget.
So we didn't spend, we could have spent that last year on all of these things in this department, but we didn't.
Well, for various reasons, sometimes there are leftover funds in a year, and,
There's just a very big
but you
chunk.
would always want, you don't want,
I'm
go
not putting you
negative.
in the poorhouse.
you don't, and they're making good use of this money. They're using it because they had some additional funds left over from one project, or, I mean, not project, but from expenditure category or another. Then they are turning it around and using it, planning it for the next year.
So someplace in this, it reflects that that money is now going to be used in this coming year.
Yes, actually, to show you that it's a balanced budget, if you look at the highway fund budget total, right below where you're looking at the fund balance, their total is like $35.5 million. See that down a few lines? That says highway fund, and it's the grand total revenue. Are you on page 9?
I'm on page 9.
Okay, so below the $5.3 million number in the budget estimate, if you go down to the bottom number, it's $35.5
Yeah.
million. That's the total revenue for highway fund that we are planning on. And then if you go to the end of the expenditure section,
On page, what?
just a moment, I don't have the book.
It's page 220, behind, the next page are the salary sheets, and at the very back of that whole section,
Okay,
you'll see
I'll
the
let
balance.
Brenda, you can show it to me after, just so.
And
I-
so, anyway, page 220 is the very last page of the expenditures for the highway fund, and that's the exact same amount. So that's how I would say I'm showing you that they are spending that money, they're intending to spend that money for all of these items that are listed in their expenditures now, in the coming year.
Okay, so basically, based on the current projection, they would have a zero fund balance at the end of this next fiscal year.
At the end of, if they spent every penny and if their fund balance, that's a fund balance estimate,
Yeah,
they may
right.
have additional fund balance or something else, but then that's, yeah. In fact, they probably will have an excess fund balance more than what they're budgeting for, but in any case, yes, in the best of all worlds, that's the revenue they're intending, and they're gonna spend every penny of it, and it would be zero.
Right. Okay, that's what they're planning to spend it on all these good necessary projects and get them done. And does that include the crosswalk with the lights on the Parker School crosswalk? The lighted crosswalk that we met and discussed and you
Yes, that
wanted
would
to
come
do?
out of the traffic budget, lighted crosswalk, not the raised crosswalk. not the
Right, we
lighted
agreed if it's gonna be the lighted that I would get off you. Stop pushing.
crosswalk, which is what, I guess, the Parker School had contributed, 10,000, or will contribute about $10,000 for the
Okay.
safety of the students.
Okay, thank you. Are you?
Thank you. Is there any council member coming on?
Just briefly, hello, Madam Chair. I just wanted to mahalo the department for their hard work and everybody that came here and those that, are out on the field right now currently. Just a lot of hard work in each community. There's been a lot of big projects starting up and on the books to be starting up soon. I'll just speak for my district, but those are big ones. Malcolm Mackay Connectors, that's been in the books for a long time and starting to go. But there's also a lot of the small projects that, the people really appreciate, like the bike lanes on Laco Street and Puapua Anui. That's helped tremendously with traffic safety, the amount of speeders, even the speed humps. All these small little things help out the community tremendously. So I just want to thank, the hard work of the department and everybody back there. All you guys do a really good job. So just wanted to mahalo.
Thank you. Councilmember Quinn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, real briefly, same thing as Mr. Cano was saying. I just want to appreciate you guys very much. You guys have been very responsive. There's so much to do, and you guys have been attentive to the projects that are feasible to get done in our district, and I really appreciate that. And always very responsive, and support you guys and support the budget. Also, going to get you guys more money. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say thank you, Warren, for being so accessible every time we meet you. And thanks to Ron Thiel, who's always there when I need him. And I want to say a special thanks to Vince, because I'm always emailing him or having my staff call him. And I know you must get tired of hearing from me, but I just want to publicly say thank you for, you know, letting us pound on you. So you're very much appreciated, and just like Ron is for my district, I really, really appreciate both of you, so, and your entire department, so thank you so much. And I'm sure that if any other council members have other questions or concerns, that you will be available to them.
Yes, we will be available.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're gonna put this meeting into recess until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Meeting is in recess. Warren. I'm with you, you're gonna have to speak. You know, I hear you cutting. For real? Like, it's upstairs.
Okay, well, I'm running up there to she has left.
This money being.
Don't worry, I've got my credit card.